Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So this comedian, Sami Obeid, he did a really funny skit about the text between Tyler and his furry lover, which even ChatGPT says it's fake, and I think that if you wanted to check out that stand-up comedy bit, it'd be well worth it. This was a video where Kirk talks about stand down order, keeps getting deleted, people say. I've seen others include it in their videos, but I also just wanted to bring your attention to this as well. And this comment was pretty astute, so I made sure to screenshot it here. It does look kind of funny because I think they have Kim Jong-un wearing makeup as their profile pic. I do think it's a valid thing to question about why is she not with her children? And why is she stepping into a CEO role? Very peculiar. Very peculiar. Now, this is a pretty spicy post because this is when the tide really started to question how she's grinning, how she's holding it together, and how different people process grief, but also how you're supposed to kind of resign a little bit from public life when such a tragedy happens like that. And so I thought this was a funny meme. Now, what's really crazy is that I didn't know she was in a music video. Turns out she was in a beauty pageant, she's doing music videos, she wasn't trad at all, she was just a typical e-girl. And I think it's quite revealing how Kirk totally paraded her around as if she was like this pure little tulip from Sweet Home Alabama. But in reality, she was a fast girl. She was out there in those streets. And you can see that she was not just some trad woman, which explains why she took up the CEO role. So very feminist boss babe and out there flirting about. Kaiser Rev says, Asmongold grieves the loss of his father, hasn't streamed in almost a month. Erica, Kirk's husband, gets shot in the neck 2 weeks ago, and she's smiling after taking over his company. I mean, that is so brutal, but it is true, isn't it? I don't like Asmongold, but the fact that he gave up streaming for a month also shows, you know, how affected he was by his dad dying. And his dad wasn't blasted on television, right, on live streams, so I think that's quite telling. And then this was unique because somebody did an AI of like her as a lizard, so reptiles being colder, right, they don't nurture their young. Think of the anaconda gives birth to live babies, they swim away, snakes having their eggs, and there's not a whole lot of cuddling, so also it kind of reminds me of that David Icke art, which is funny. It's smart, go put it out. Jimmy Dore also had this video, which was interesting, about a pocket weapon, like a gun that looks like a little circle thing, and you can put it in the palm of your hand. I've never seen one of those before, so I just found it interesting, and they were analyzing the movements of the guy's hand. Dore also had a video that was talking about a microphone, and that could have been something that exploded. As we know, some assassins used exploding pagers, so I don't think you have to stretch your imagination to realize what's possible. I also didn't know that she appeared in this Summer House TV show. So she's done music videos, beauty pageants, TV shows. She's not very traditional at all. She's just a regular thirst-trapping individual. So, again, the more we learn about her and her family history, we begin to see a much thicker plot. This video had quite a lot of views. Range Day Bro, and he seems to know a lot about firearms, and he did some good analysis. So if you want to check his video out and you haven't done it already, that's another one for the archive record. This guy, Doofy Official, is actually pretty funny, and he has some really good takes. I don't agree with everything he says, but I do see him as a reply guy in quite a lot of posts, and it makes me laugh. But it says here, so if Mad Men is a TV show about marketing, it's an okay show. So in case you don't get the reference, he puts up a board and pitches ideas. So it says here, hear me out. What if Eric Kirk is the whore Babylon? And then it should be noted that Turning Point UK is an anti-Islamic, anti-immigrant organization. So I think it's important to document their turning point in their rhetoric even further to the far right. And I think with how much hatred they spread towards Muslims, you could definitely consider them a hate group. Because they're not really trying to bring back certain conservative values that overlap with Islam, but rather they are a Zionist organization, and they are no friend to Muslims. Case in point here is that deportations, mass deportations, so they really hate immigrants, and they don't like brown people, because we all know the dog whistle in the UK and America when it comes to deportations. If you're white, then they'll support you as an immigrant, like if you're Ukrainian, or you're from South Africa, but if you're Somalian, Yemen, an Arab, a Latino, they want you out. And I've documented that plenty of times in the past and on my blog, so go ahead and join the blog and you can see more evidence. It also says here, Islamists and their Marxist allies shut down central Westminster on the day of the brutal... So here, you can see how they don't care about the victims in Gaza, right? And they only care about the Jays. So they're not really a good organization, and Islamists is just another way to insult Muslims. And putting Marxists and Muslims together is bizarre, but I just wanted to, come with the receipts to show you that Kirk's organization, the UK branch especially, not a friend to Muslims. Now, I had made a post on my community tab. You could probably still see it if you scroll down a bit. I do post a lot, keep you all updated on current events and all that stuff and trends. But I said that the person who comes out and really mocks Kirk or lightens the situation with a little bit of cathartic comedy will, do an interesting service to free speech and will gain some popularity in that. And this was a pretty decent stand-up piece, and Sammy is someone who pushes the lines a bit with some other stand-up bits that he does. But it's refreshing to have an honest take, and where you see somebody not being performative and lamenting someone for social clout. When you look at these influencers online and you realize before Kirk died they never really mentioned him, and then afterwards they're like getting really obsessed, and I even saw some Christians compare him to Jesus and say that Charlie was a prophet. It's really getting culty out there, and statues to be built, you're like, that's idolatry, and they're treating him like a saint, and it's getting really creepy and inappropriate. So a little bit of comedy goes a long way, and then how MAGA was canceling everyone and trying to threaten people and scare them and stuff like that. So for this guy to just say some jokes is pretty bold, and I found that to be interesting. Remember, in my past videos, the Trump administration and his allies, they wanted people to not be able to have a visa if they didn't say the right things about Kirk's assassination. So that's something to think about. You can mock Jesus in America. The Christians are fine with that. But if you mock a podcast guy who argued with, liberals on college campuses, that's just too far. So it's quite strange, isn't it? So South Park, it's got their Jesus episodes of mocking Jesus, but they took down their South Park episode in fear of what MAGA would do to them. Really something to think about. Kyle has also been keeping up to date from his perspective on the Kirk fallout and what's been going on. Candace Owens seems to be pissing off a lot of people, and she's released some messages that back up a little bit more of her claim, she also contends she saw Kirk in a dream, which sent a lot of people off the rails. As we know in Islam, Yusuf, the prophet, a prophet rather, he was able to have special dreams and then interpret those dreams to the king / pharaoh. Christians believe pharaoh, Muslims we believe he was a king, but either way the leader. So dreams are a very interesting thing. They're very spiritual. Could she be lying? Yes. But she contends that she has a dream about Kirk, and Kirk said he was betrayed. And so the plot is thickening. I do wonder, how is she making sure she's safe? Because if she does get too close to the truth, I don't think that those people will want that. This is a good example of something I think is inappropriate and quite forced and divisive, that Representative Kevin Steele of Florida, he's filed a bill that orders every public university and college campus in the state to rename a campus road after Kirk. That is insane. Absolutely insane. MAGA, if it was in the other shoot, like in the other foot, they'd be like, no, we're not doing that, and they'd put it in the garbage chute. It would just not happen. No. They would freak out, call this communism. They would, go ludicrous if every college campus did something like that on the reverse. Kirk was against the Gazan refugees. He was against a lot of Latino illegals. He hated us Muslims. Why are you going to put the name of someone who was divisive? Who's only valued to certain people? And with the text messages that Candace revealed that talk about how he lost a high up Jewish donor, and that he was going to leave the Israeli cause and something like that, you begin to notice that Kirk was pay to play. Just like Tim Pool and Jack Posobiec. You grease the hands, then they'll be for your cause. You cut off that milk from the teat, well, they're gonna flip on you. So it's pay to play, baby, and that's the kind of game he was at. It's creepy, and I think it's inappropriate for colleges to put names of someone like Kirk up there, especially when they have international students and where you have immigrant students who are of the backgrounds and religious persuasions that Kirk despised. And today, Valentina Gomez and others use Kirk's quotes about Islam to threaten the Muslim community in Texas and everywhere, really. And that's just not what a college should be about. It's supposed to be about spreading knowledge, educating your mind, critical thinking, but you shouldn't put someone up there who would cause your students to feel in an unsafe environment. The irony is that if the Jays got the name of someone they didn't like, they would call it anti-Semitic, and you would be in some serious trouble, and they have so much power and leverage that they could really get the school not to do that. So, the hypocrisy is glaring. Also, going back to this post, it reminds me how many people have noticed that she got $12 million from her husband's death. She got $6 million in donations by other rich people who I covered in past videos. And she's now a CEO. She's gained quite a lot from her husband's death, right? If you were to write a villain movie, this would be quite a saucy angle, wouldn't it? Now, she's still young and attractive, so she can get a new guy, right? She still can have more kids with a new guy, and she'll be balling out of control. So, she's young, she's attractive, now she's really rich, and she's a CEO. Think about that. And she's out here saying "Go Ducks" and smiling on podcasts. And who the hell is with her kids right now? A nanny? I don't know how this woman is trad at all. She's not. She's really not. And how is she fighting against the feminist ethos? She's not. It doesn't make any sense at all. The more we learn about her, the more we see like who her parents worked for, how they met, and then like it's the plot is really thickening. So let me know what you think. And also the fireworks at the memorial. It's really inappropriate. It was a political rally more than a funeral service. The fact that she would record herself crying over her husband's body and put it on social media instead of having that as a private moment. There's a lot going on here. And I wonder if we'll ever get down to the bottom of it. It'll probably take years. But the internet has done way more to reveal truth and inconsistency than Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I mean, Kash Patel is just a complete joke. He's got those weird, like, little bug eyes as well. Incompetent. Please like, comment, subscribe, join the blog.